This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. People ask me what I do for a living. For a while, I was O.J. Simpson's driver. Right, so in this video, I wanted to explain myself and answer the vital question why I bought a Silver Sky, a PRS Silver Sky core model, rather than a Fender Stratocaster. Controversial maybe. Right, so reason number one was it is actually cheaper, okay? So I paid like £1,150 for this, which is a made in America. They are, you know, you would say mass manufactured, much like a Fender, much like a Gibson, I suppose. But a made in America guitar for £1,150, to me, you know, used, is a very decent deal. Reason number two was that it's actually very lightweight. Now, this may or may not matter to you. Let me know in the comments what you reckon, and, you know, fight it out whether you think heavier guitars are better or lighter guitars. Do you care at all about the weight of a guitar? The reason that I look at this particular stat is because I just think it's one kind of objective thing that we can look at and kind of see that some guitar manufacturers seem to place a premium on lighter weight guitars, and some guitar manufacturers just don't. And so if you look, say, on Peach Guitars, they weigh all of their guitars. I spent some time doing this For instance, Suhr guitars generally on there seem to be sort of like a pound-ish heavier. All of the Silver Skies, I found one that was slightly heavier, or on the heavier side, getting towards sort of £8. And a lot of the Fender Strats that I found on there were way into sort of £8.5 territory, which is, to me, not indicative of a company actually paying attention or trying to keep the weights of their guitars down lower. And again, this may or may not matter to you, but for me, when I pick up a Strat, I want it to feel, you know, not like a Les Paul to hold. I don't want a Giga guitar that feels super heavy in the hands. I do get asked occasionally by folks whether I'm going to like review like a Fender Ultra Strat. I think they just did the new Ultra 2. I saw Leon Todd has done a video gigging it. The answer is honestly no, because to me, those are not actually what a Strat is for me. So for me, what I look for in a Strat is something way closer to the kind of vintage specs. So that's why the Silver Sky actually works a little bit better, in my opinion, for what I'm looking for. So 7.25 inch radius, which is one of those things that people are going to hear, and a lot of people might be turned off by that. I would absolutely encourage you that if you get a chance to play one before buying one, that you do, because for me, I found that the 7.25 inch radius is actually probably my most comfortable feeling guitar, paired with a fairly chunky neck. Not baseball bat-ish, but chunky-ish. This is such an awesome playing guitar, especially at this sort of price. So again, £1,150 is what I paid for it. New in the UK, you can find them for under £2,000 all the time at like Peach Guitars, Andertons. They're always discounting them, different colours and stuff like that. I think they're made in sufficient quantities that it seems to be that they're able to keep these prices fairly low, and also people like Andertons and Peach are wanting to kind of churn through stock. So I think that's part of why you can get them for a really decent price new. This is the other thing that I kind of noticed. If you look on, say, Peach Guitars, I did this as well on another site, was it Toman? But I kind of filtered guitars between £2,000 and £3,000, and you'd be, I was, and I don't know whether you feel the same, surprised that there isn't more choice within this range. So I think what has happened basically is that there's guitars that are under £2,000, say Fender are maybe like the market leaders of this stuff, things like your AVRI, your things like your Ultra, which are the Fender sort of standard sort of stuff, right, where it's like built in the main factory Corona. And yeah, those are fairly, you know, mass manufactured, pretty decent quality. And then you go to the Fender Custom Shop stuff, which is like in its own kind of part of the factory, and that stuff has a huge jump up in price. I don't know whether you see the same jump up in quality, but certainly your chances of finding a much lighter weight guitar, I think, are higher when you go into the Custom Shop. And also specs that are closer to this sort of thing. The AVRI stuff is pretty close in spec to this stuff, but the one that I actually tried was quite heavy. Fender sent me one. It was kind of just shy of £8, and a decent guitar, but I don't think as quality as these. So I think the PRS Silver Sky for me gets to the quality of like the Fender Custom Shop, but with, you know, £1,000, maybe a little bit extra to play with, you know, price difference wise. You know, a PRS Silver Sky, I think you easily get for £2,000 in the UK. Fender Custom Shop, easily you're going to be paying like £3,000. Again, not much in the way of choice in that in-between space particularly. You know, you've got, what was there even that I did see? There's not much stuff like LSL. I guess K-lines for me, which I play all the time, would be just shy of like a Fender Custom Shop price. But there's not a ton of choice at this price range. Anyway, so that's kind of one thing. Playability-wise, super comfortable. The sounds, now this is the one sort of downside if you're looking for a Strat. I don't necessarily think this is the most classic sounding Strat. I think it's more voiced, like they say with these pickups, 635, somewhere sort of mid-60s kind of tones, where there's a little bit more bass for me and a little bit more treble, potentially a little bit more of a scoop tone than like the more, I don't know, people have said, you know, the PRS Silver Sky doesn't sound necessarily as woody as some other Strats. So when I hear Philip Sayce play it, it sounds like a Strat to me though, and when I hear Mayer play it, it sounds like a Strat. When I compare it to my other kind of Strats, maybe a little bit less Stratty, maybe a bit more hyped in the lows and in the highs. Build quality wise, really good. Good quality dark rosewood. The birds are all in their right position, even that little weird one. I think looks wise is where the Fender Strat in general is still going to have it beaten, because I don't think you can kind of beat that for an iconic look. And it kind of, I think, looks a little bit more on the plasticky side. If you can get past that, I think it's actually a fantastically built, fantastic playing instrument, and I've gigged it a few times now, and it's a really, really pleasant instrument to play live. Holds its tune. I've got D'Addario 9.5 XS strings on it at the moment. They're coping super well with being gigged. I'm liking having a slightly slinkier feel with the thicker neck. With the 7.25 radius as well, all of the bends come off absolutely fine. You can even do your kind of country bends if you can do those. I can't. So I just think it's such a good all-round guitar for this price. I think underneath this price range there's great guitars too. I think of maybe like the Tokai Strat stuff as maybe a competitor. As I say, the AVRI stuff I think is going to be a bit more variable in quality in my opinion, just based on having played a few. A few came into Project Music near me. They had really high action. You know, I think in the main, what you might notice if you look online at like the PRS, the weights are going to be sort of significantly lower than the average kind of Fender Strats. That's kind of my experience on the sample sizes. It's not going to look as pretty as a Strat. You may have to get past this headstock thing. I don't know, maybe you wouldn't be caught dead playing one at all, but this is just, for me, why I ended up buying one of these. And I'm kind of think I made the right choice, having, you know, seen what's going on online. So let me know your thoughts. What would you grab in this price range? Is there another strong contender, do you think, for an S-type guitar? I just think between £2,000 and £3,000 there is not a huge amount of choice for a great S-type guitar. Once you get above £3,000, of course, Fender Custom Shops, K-Lines, Danacasters, all that sort of stuff. If you go below 2,000, there's of course a bunch of choice. You've got Suhrs around the same price as the Fender Custom Shop. Again, have the same sort of, tend to err on the heavier side. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. The S-type guitar in 2024, I think the PRS Silver Sky is sort of doing that Henry Ford Fender Strat thing, right? Where it's like, actually, if you're a pro looking for something that off the shelf is going to be really decent and do the job, I think the Silver Sky might be the candidate. And maybe we'll see more people playing them and normalising seeing Silver Sky in places. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. And if you do really hate it, let me know why in the comments.